Welcome to Aviafly, the YouTube history channel with aircraft, airlines, and aviation podcasts. German, Italian, and French language terms appear in this podcast. We can't pronounce these terms correctly. It remains with an English pronunciation, which the listener may forgive us. Today's topic: Aeritalia G.222. The Aeritalia G.222 was produced between 1970 and 1993, and 111 planes were built. It is a medium-sized STOL military transport aircraft, and it was developed to meet a NATO specification, but Italy was initially the only NATO member to adopt the type. Development history. In 1962, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization came up with a plan called V/STOL Basic Military Requirements Plan NBMR4. This plan was the basis for designing several different types of transport vehicles that had both turboprop and jet engines. These engines would allow the vehicles to take off vertically or for short distances. Fiat's design team, led by Giuseppe Gabrielli, produced a design to meet this requirement, designated G.222. It was powered by two Rolls-Royce Dart turboprop engines and 6 to 8 Rolls-Royce RB162 lift engines to give VTOL capability. According to Aeritalia, the G.222 designation is derived from the first letter of the aircraft's chief designer. The first two refers to the twin-engine arrangement, and the final twos refers to the revised NATO Basic Military Requirement 22 to which it had been submitted. Although none of these projects came to fruition, the Italian Air Force, AMI, extended its 1963 project contract with Fiat to develop a more conventional type. Then, in 1968, a binding agreement was signed for two prototype military transporters with the designation G.222 TCM and a fuselage for ground testing. The result was to replace the Italian Air Force's aging Fairchild C-119 transporter. The G.222 was substantially redeveloped from the NATO submission, the V/STOL lift engines having been omitted entirely and the conventional Dart engines replaced by a pair of General Electric T-64s. Subsequently, the new aircraft had no V/STOL capability but retained considerable short takeoff and landing performance. Production was delayed by changes in government, changes in ownership of the parent company, and financing problems. Therefore, the prototype was not ready for takeoff until July 18, 1970. By late April 1971, the prototype had reportedly conducted 22 flights and accumulated 50 hours of flight time. Its performance was claimed to have been highly close to predictions. In December 1971, the Italian Air Force, who had placed a provisional order for the developing type, formally began evaluating the G.222 and the performance of the two prototypes in service. Following a successful testing period, the AMI contract for 44 aircraft was issued to Aeritalia, of which Fiat Aviazione had since become a part. A second prototype began test flying on July 21, 1971. These aircraft had jet turbine engines and no cabin pressure compensation. It could take off and land on temporary runways. After the fuselage had been redesigned to accommodate the more powerful General Electric T-64P4D turboprop engines and details had been improved, the first aircraft in series production took off on its maiden flight on December 23, 1975. In the meantime, the first foreign order for this type had also been received from Argentina. Early production aircraft were exclusively fitted with the General Electric T-64GEP4D turboprop engine. The license-built Rolls-Royce Tyne was made available as an alternative power plant for the type from 1980 onwards, while the Allison T-56 was another proposed power plant. Due to double-slotted flaps, stacked brakes, and reversible propellers, the G.222 has excellent short landing capabilities. It can land in as little as 1,800 feet. It was designed to be integrated with the more giant, commonplace Lockheed C-130 Hercules. Following its introduction by the AMI, the G.222 was procured as a tactical transport aircraft by various international customers, including Argentina, Nigeria, Somalia, Venezuela, and Thailand. In December 1978, Aeritalia elected to transfer the final assembly of the G.222 from Turin to Naples. At that point, 44 firm orders were obtained for the type, and one aircraft per month was manufactured. The G.222 was manufactured by various companies. The fuselage was constructed in Naples, the center section of the wing was produced by Piaggio, the wing panels were made by Macchi, the tail surfaces were built by C.I. Marchetti, the engine nacelles by IAM, and the T-64 engines were license manufactured by Alfa Romeo and Fiat. The basic model of the G.222 transporter version has an unbreakable all-metal hull, the underside of which is designed as a loading ramp. In its standard version as a troop carrier, the G.222 can carry 53 fully equipped persons on 32 wall seats and 12 folding seats or 32 paratroopers on the wall seats. As a casualty transporter, the G.222 has space for 36 stretchers, 2 seats for light casualties, and 4 more for accompanying medical personnel. It has a 1,500 kilograms load-bearing capacity boom as a cargo transporter and 135 holders for lashing the load. In its basic design, the G.222's fuselage is eminently suitable for adaptation to other military or civil tasks, example, maritime reconnaissance, anti-submarine warfare, or airspace and radar control. A prototype of the ECM version, designated G.222VS, was tested in extended capability flights beginning March 9, 1978. It is equipped to the hilt with electronic equipment that requires a crew of 10 in addition to the 2 pilots to operate it. The G.222's cargo deck can carry up to 9,000 kilograms of cargo. The cargo deck has a large rear ramp, allowing the loading of palletized goods and vehicles, and sliding doors on either side of the fuselage, which can be used to deploy paratroopers. To easily facilitate the loading of a wide range of cargoes, the height of the landing gear can be manually controlled. The cockpit provides excellent external visibility for pilots. Most key controls are centrally placed between the 2 pilots, enabling the aircraft to be flown by a single pilot under certain circumstances. The standard G.222 is equipped with various avionics, such as a nose-mounted Doppler radar, navigational computers, radio systems, and a Rockwell Collins-built autopilot. Electronic receiver equipment and up to 10 control consoles were installed upon several G.222s for performing electronic reconnaissance missions. Some aircraft were fitted with aerial refueling probes and associated equipment. Some Italian G.222s have been equipped with a self-protection suite, which uses multiple sensors to warn against identified threats. This suite also includes several countermeasures such as chaff and flare dispensers. Variants of this aircraft: G.222 TCM, the 2 prototypes for the Italian Air Force. G.222A, the standard transport version for the Italian Air Force. G.222RM, which was equipped for maritime radar reconnaissance and measurement flights. It was similar in appearance to the standard transport version. It was also equipped, among other things, with an instrument landing system, rangefinders, and optional additional multi-purpose systems for blind approach and approach with ground radar. G.222SAA, a variant for civilian use for firefighting. For this purpose, the second prototype of the basic model was equipped with a 6,300-liter water tank. Machines for agricultural pest control and photographic land surveying were also developed. G.222T, a version powered by the Rolls-Royce Tyne for the Libyan Air Force, sometimes designated G.222L. G.222VS, an ECM version, sometimes designated G.222GE. C-27A Spartan, 10 G.222S purchased for the United States Air Force. And C-27J Spartan. Further development. In 1977, Libya sought the purchase of 20 G.222s. This was vetoed by the US government, which had imposed an embargo on military arms and equipment to Libya, which included the G.222's T-64 engines. To get around this restriction, Aeritalia developed a version of the G.222 powered by the Rolls-Royce Tyne engine, and the other US-supplied equipment was replaced by European equivalents. The more powerful Tyne engine also reportedly gave this variant superior hot and high performance. The provision of alternative power plants was viewed by Aeritalia as a measure to widen the overall appeal of the G.222. The Tyne engine also reportedly possessed more significant growth potential than the T-64 engine. In May 1980, the first G.222 equipped with the Tyne engine performed its maiden flight. Libya placed an order for 20 Tyne-powered aircraft instead, with deliveries commencing from 1980. The G.222 has seen considerable service in air relief and military supply operations. From 1979 onwards, Italy and other Western nations provided substantial military aid to Somalia. Part of the Italian contribution was 4 G.222s. In 1982, 3 Ejercito Argentino G.222s were operational during the Falklands War and may have participated in a logistical capacity. In 1983, a single Italian Air Force G.222 was outfitted for fire suppression duties, alongside an existing C-130 in the same role. On September 3, 1992, an Italian Air Force G.222 was shot down when approaching Sarajevo airfield while conducting a United Nations relief mission. It crashed 29 kilometers from the airfield. A NATO rescue mission was aborted when 2 USMC CH-53 helicopters came under arms fire. The cause of the crash was determined to be a surface-to-air missile, but it was not clear who shot it. Everyone on board, 4 Italian crew members and 4 French passengers, died in the crash. To extend the effective operational lifespan of the type, some operators have carried out extensive upgrade programs for the G.222. In the aftermath of Italian missions in Bosnia and Somalia, in 1996, the AMI began undertaking a significant update program on their G.222 fleet. Modifications include cockpit lighting changes for compatibility with night vision goggles to enable night operations, increasing the aircraft's self-defense capabilities, new communications and navigation systems, and removing obsolete equipment. In 1990, the United States Air Force selected the G.222 as the basis of a rapid response intratheater airlifter. Operated under the designation C-27A Spartan, 10 G.222s were purchased and underwent avionics upgrades by Chrysler Aerospace. These aircraft were stationed at Howard AFB, Panama. The USAF would later dispose of their C-27A fleet, partly due to shifting priorities between the Army and the Air Force and partly because of the impending introduction of a newer variant, the Alenia C-27J Spartan. A modernized variant, the Alenia C-27J Spartan, has been developed. While it retains many aspects of the original aircraft, the C-27J adopts the same engines and many of the systems used on the larger Lockheed Martin C-130J Super Hercules. In November 1999, the Italian Air Force placed an initial order for 12 new-build aircraft of an upgraded G.222 derivative, designated as the C-27J, to replace their existing G.222s. In December 2002, Alenia Aermacchi agreed to purchase 39 G.222s previously operated by the Italian Air Forces under a trade-in arrangement as part of the agreed C-27J purchase. In 2005, the Italian Air Force started the phased retirement of their G.222 fleet. Several former Italian Air Force G.222s have been refurbished to operational conditions and resold by Alenia Aermacchi. In July 2005, the Nigerian Air Force signed a $74.5 million contract with Alenia Aeronautica for the refurbishment of a total of 5 G.222s, as well as the purchase of a retired AMI G.222. In September 2008, Aeritalia North America was awarded a USAF contract to upgrade and refurbish 18 G.222s to be transferred to and used by the Afghan Air Force. Ballistic protection, adaptations for serving in the conditions of Afghanistan, and many new avionics systems, including a digital autopilot, were installed. 2 aircraft were also configured for VIP transport duties. On April 28, 2010, the first 2 of the Afghan Air Force's recently delivered G.222s made their first public display during Mujahideen Victory Day. In January 2013, the USAF decided not to renew the support contract for the Afghan fleet due to claimed serviceability issues and operational difficulties. Aeritalia responded, stating that the fleet exceeded the requirements laid out by the USAF, with 10 to 12 aircraft available for operations against the need for 6. The 16 G.222s delivered to Afghanistan were scrapped in the summer of 2014 by the Defense Logistics Agency. After the United States spent $486 million to buy 20 C-27As, 16 were sold as scrap to an Afghan construction company for about $32,000. The planes were reportedly scrapped to minimize the impact on drawdown of U.S. forces in Afghanistan. The 4 remaining aircraft are stored at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. From January to September 2012, the Afghan C-27A fleet flew only 234 out of 4,500 required hours. Technical data. Type: general-purpose transport aircraft with 2 engines. Engines: 2 Fiat-built General Electric T-64 GEP-4D turboprops. In the fuselage also 8 booster rockets for an additional thrust of 3,600 kilograms in case of engine overload. Performance: maximum speed at 4,575 meters altitude, 540 kilometers per hour. Cruise speed at 4,500 meters altitude, 360 kilometers per hour. Service ceiling 7,620 meters. Range with full load at most economical cruise speed and 6,000 meters altitude, 700 kilometers. Range with 44 fully equipped cruise, 2,220 kilometers. Range with highest possible tank load, 4,950 kilometers. Weight: empty weight 14,590 kilograms. Normal takeoff weight 24,500 kilograms. Maximum takeoff and landing weight 26,500 kilograms. Dimensions: wingspan 28.70 meters. Length 22.70 meters. Wing area 82.00 square meters. This was the Aviafly podcast. We would be pleased about your like and your subscription, because this is the only way we can continue to offer you exciting podcasts from the world of aviation. See you soon!